The War of the Ring is a very exciting and thrilling board game where two players battle over Middle-earth. Whether you're the Free People's player and you're fighting to gain just a few victories and trying to get Frodo and Sam to Mordor, or whether you're the Shadow player and you're trying to get all of those strongholds and cities defeated, it is a very immersive game, and it really helps you to enter into the whole experience of Middle-earth and the Lord of the Rings scenario. A downside of this game, though, is it's a lot of rules to remember. And the rule book is not particularly good. You want to try to avoid playing games where you have to keep flicking through the rule book to find that rule. So I'm going to give you a few tips to help your game run a lot more smoothly. So, tip number 1. Get hold of a rule and turn summary. One such turn and rule summary can be found on Board Game Geek. I provide the link to this in the description below this video, so go down and have a look at that. In addition to the summary, it's also a good idea just to list those rules that are easily forgotten. Many people play War of the Ring maybe just once or twice a year, and they often forget the rules, so it's good to just have a reminder of those rules that you find difficult to remember. So write them down, just put them on a piece of paper, keep it beside you, and so that you can refer to them. I've got my own list here, which I've also put down in the description. My next tip is to do with the special hunt tiles. So as the game progresses, you will come across these special tiles, which you will add to the hunt pool, but they only get added when you actually get the Fellowship to Mordor. So for example, we have the Shelob's Lair card, and that allows you to add the Shelob's Lair hunt tile to the hunt pool. And you don't actually add it into the hunt pool bag straight away. It only gets added when the Fellowship enters Mordor. So what you should do as the game progresses and as players draw and play these cards that allow them to add the special hunt tiles to the hunt pool, you want to take these special hunt tiles and just put them on the Mordor track. Just put them on the first stage of the Mordor track in Gorgoroth. So as the game progresses, this stack will be added to until the Fellowship finally enters Mordor. And so then when the Fellowship enters Mordor, they are sitting there as a reminder. Fellowship starts in Mordor, and then you add those into the hunt bag, ready to be drawn as the Fellowship goes through Mordor. So just leave those hunt tiles sitting there in Gorgoroth. My next tip is to paint the figures. It's very confusing sometimes when you're looking at these figures and you're trying to decide, is that from Rohan or is it from Gondor? Is that an elf or is it a northerner? So you don't need to paint the whole figures if you don't want to. You can just paint the bases. Painting the whole figure is admirable. That might take you several weeks though. But to paint the bases, that could maybe just be done in a couple of evenings. So just paint the bases a different colour for each nation. So now you can clearly see that these elves, they have green bases, so they can be easily distinguished from these northerners which have red bases. I've painted the Rohan units with a silver base, and I've given my Gondor units a white base to represent the white tree of Gondor. For the dwarves, it's a good idea to paint the regulars differently from the elites so that you can tell them apart. So you can see here I've painted the regulars with red hammers in addition to their brown bases, and the elites have the brown bases, but they also have a little black thing on their axes there. Now if you are fortunate to have the second edition, then on your board, somewhere down here, you will get a score counter. But if like me, you're using the first edition, then just go ahead and create for yourself your own victory point counter. So you want the Free Peoples, they just need to get to 4 points for a military victory, and for your shadow player, they need to get to 10 points. So just create for yourself a little chart there so you can keep track, and then use these markers here to move along each of the tracks. Okay, and so use these markers here to move, and that way you can keep track of where you are and how close you are to winning a military victory in the game. Now the game comes with 5 combat dice, but I highly recommend that you add another 5 combat dice so that each player has their own set of combat dice, because they will be rolling those dice at the same time. So just grab a bunch of 5 dice from some other board game that you have. My next tip is to do with the political track counters. How do you know which counter corresponds to which nation? Which ones are for Gondor? Which is the dwarves? Which is the northerners? Now if you turn to the manual and look at the section, the politics of Middle-earth, you'll find a chart there with all of these described. In my first edition manual, it's on page 15. So what you should do is just print this. So scan and print this. And then you'll end up with something like this. And then just go and cut these out, and then place them in your boxes. So here I've got all my northerners, and I can see the symbol for the north right there next to them. So those are my northerners. I've got my dwarves there, and they've got their dwarf symbol right next to them. Gondor is over here, so I can see the white tree of Gondor, and Rohan with the horse symbol, and then the elves with their green symbol there. And so there you have it. Just a few tips from me on how to make your game flow much more smoothly, and just really enjoy this game. Just really get into it. It's a great game, and I hope you enjoy it. So have fun, and thank you for watching.